Alright, in today's video, we are doing a full performance comparison between NVIDIA driver 591.44 and the newer NVIDIA driver 591.86 to see which one delivers better performance inside Counter-Strike 2. The goal is simple. We want to find out which driver gives higher FPS, better frame stability, smoother gameplay, and stronger low-frame performance for competitive players. Both drivers were tested on the exact same hardware setup. Nothing was changed between the tests except the driver version. The CPU, GPU, RAM, Windows build, background processes, and in-game scenario were completely identical. The game was running on low settings because that is what most competitive players use to achieve the highest FPS and the lowest possible input lag. All performance data was recorded using CapFrameX, so the results are based on real frame time analysis and not just visual observation. Before we jump into the results, if you appreciate detailed driver testing like this, please consider subscribing and dropping a like. These videos take a lot of time because each driver needs to be clean installed. The system must be restarted multiple times, and the same benchmark scenario must be repeated carefully to ensure the numbers are accurate and fair. Now let's begin with the testing breakdown. Everything in this test environment remained exactly the same between both runs, except for the NVIDIA driver version. This ensures that any performance difference you see comes directly from the driver optimization itself. In Counter-Strike 2, especially on low settings, the GPU is not heavily stressed. Instead, the game relies more on CPU stability, frame time consistency, and driver optimization. That makes driver comparisons extremely important for competitive players who care about responsiveness and smoothness. Let's start with NVIDIA driver 591.44. With driver 591.44 installed, the game achieved an average FPS of 172.9. The 1% low was recorded at 93.7 frames per second, and the 0.1% low dropped to 48.6 frames per second. The frame time graph looked relatively stable overall. Smoothness was measured at 99.8%, and total recorded stutter time was just 0.04 seconds. On paper, these numbers look decent. The smoothness rating is high, and the total stutter time is low. However, the average FPS is not extremely high, and the 1% lows show that during heavy moments in gameplay, the frame rate can drop noticeably. During fast rotations, quick flick shots, and intense combat situations, the lower average FPS makes the gameplay feel slightly heavier. Input responsiveness is still good, but not as sharp as higher frame rate runs. Now let's move on to NVIDIA driver 591.86. With driver 591.86 installed, the performance improved. The average FPS increased to 198.6. The 1% low rose to 112.4 frames per second, and the 0.1% low improved to 55.2 frames per second. The frame time graph appeared more consistent compared to 591.44, with fewer noticeable spikes during intense scenes. Smoothness was measured at 99.6%, and total stutter time was recorded at 0.07 seconds. Although the stutter time is slightly higher compared to 591.44, the overall frame rate improvement makes a bigger difference in real gameplay. The higher average FPS results in smoother motion clarity, cleaner tracking, and better aiming precision. The stronger 1% lows mean fewer sudden frame drops during heavy fights or crowded areas. Overall, the game feels more responsive and fluid with driver 591.86. When comparing both drivers side by side, the difference becomes clear. Driver 591.86 delivers higher average FPS and stronger 1% lows, which directly impacts gameplay smoothness and consistency. while driver 591.44 shows slightly cleaner stutter numbers. The lower overall frame rate affects how smooth and responsive the game feels. In a competitive shooter like Counter-Strike 2, every frame matters. Higher FPS improves motion clarity, reduces perceived input delay, and makes fast movements easier to track. Even a difference of 20 to 30 frames per second can be noticeable during high-level play. So here are my final thoughts. NVIDIA driver 591.86 is the better choice for Counter-Strike 2 right now. It delivers higher FPS, stronger low percentile performance, and a more responsive experience overall. Driver 591.44 is still stable and playable, but its lower frame rate output makes it less ideal for competitive players who want maximum performance. If you are playing Counter-Strike 2 and your main goal is smoother gameplay and better competitive performance, driver 591.86 is the recommended option at this time. Thank you for watching this detailed driver comparison. If this video helped you understand the difference between these two drivers, please consider subscribing and dropping a like. I will see you in the next one.